Michael Pittman Jr., Matthew, one of the biggest fantasy disappointments maybe on the entire season. He's got the Bills, who haven't been great against wide receivers this year. But whether it's Anthony Richardson, whether it's Joe Flacco, Pittman just really hasn't produced. Look at these numbers are startling. He's a touchdown-dependent wide receiver.
He certainly is. He certainly is. But, he's getting at least 5 targets a game basically over the last 4 of the last 5 games. You see it there on your screen. He's become somewhat touchdown dependent. If there's positives here, when you say he's touchdown dependent, he has gotten 4 end zone targets in his 4 games with Joe Flacco. He's scored in 2 of the games with Flacco under center. It's worth noting that Buffalo over the last month allows the 3rd highest catch rate to opposing wide receivers. Look, I get it. In 4 of his past 5 games, he's had a below 20% target share. Sort of the Michael Pittman's calling card has always been, well, he gets this massive volume. He's got this high floor. And he's in this new offense, whether it's Flacco or Richardson, like he's no longer like this high floor guy who's like 7 for 70 every week, and not really likely to score a touchdown. He's become the opposite. He's become this volatile, high variance player who potentially could get into the end zone or potentially not. He is touchdown dependent, but I think he's got a shot at scoring in a game in which obviously the Colts are underdogs here. I'm at wide receiver 29. I'm reluctantly keeping it open on Michael Pittman just because I don't think they're going to be able to run on Buffalo. I think they're going to have to throw. I think he's got a shot at a touchdown. Again, low end wide receiver, he's barely inside my top 30.
We have bye weeks too. Without the bye weeks, he's not in the top 30.
Correct. I mean, Cedric Tillman's on a bye. Jaden Reed and Romeo Dobbs, all the Packers guys aren't. Jacoby Myers, DK Metcalf, JSN.
They're all over him.
They're all out. Right, and they're all out this week as well, and that's before you even get to some of the guys that are banged up as well. So, does A.J. Brown come back this week? That kind of stuff. Nico Collins, etc. So I am the most unenthusiastic keep it open of all time, but I am reluctantly keeping it open on Michael Pittman.
Well, sitting at the bar just down horrendous, but one more.
I'm going to happily keep it closed.
All right.
Just because he's their 3rd leading receiver. This ain't the 2013 Denver Broncos where you got 3 receivers going 1,000. You're the 3rd leading. You're supposed to be the number 1 receiver. Josh Downs is the best receiver on this team by far. And then you got Alec Pierce, who I think he has just as good a chance to have maybe even a better chance because he get downfield to have a better game. And despite, my free AR5 campaign, he is not starting this week, but Joe Flacco is. In 3 Joe Flacco starts this season, Michael Pittman is averaging 3 catches and 28 yards, and
Is that bad? Are you saying that's bad?
I heard it ain't good. I heard it's not good. There's one guy in that passing offense that could go get 6 for 60. That's Josh Downs.
Correct.
And he did catch the 2 touchdowns. One of them versus the Titans. Flacco was like, he just threw it up. And Pittman, he did make a great catch.
But that's what he's going to do this game.
Right.
I mean, that's
probably, and then it'll be he'll be like 2 for 20, and then boom, you got double-digit fantasy points right there.
Games in Indianapolis, and yet the Colts are still 4-point underdogs, right? And so, in home field they're really almost a touchdown underdog, right? And so. When you add in home field there, right? The Buffalo Bills are probably about a touchdown better than the Colts, or close to it. And so over the last 4 weeks, Bills 7th against the run, 17th against the pass. So again, in terms of the best way to attack Buffalo is through the air. They're going to be negative game script. They're just going to be throwing. Again, it's a really reluctant keep it open, but I have him as a top 30 play because of game script and injuries and other wide receivers. So I hear you. I would not feel good about starting him, but I am reluctantly keeping it open.
Fantasy aside, if they could somehow get that run game going, they actually have a shot to be in this game. The Dolphins gashed them and took them all the way to the wire. That opened things up for Tua, and he ended up being an excellent point guard in that game. So if they could somehow just run the ball and be successful doing that, their defense has played better. That's why they're in these games. So if they could get that run game and defense from a football standpoint, don't be shocked that they actually play with the Bills.
That's the Bills' problem right now. Remember week 1 against Arizona, they allowed a lot of points. Derrick Henry went nuts on them. Breece Hall got back on track against them. And then Miami, They're a vulnerable defense.
No doubt.
We'll see. All right, our next wide receiver, Keenan Allen, right now here, guys. He's got the Patriots. Matthew, he had 10 targets in Week 9. He only caught 4 of them. Caleb Williams has been a little wild and out of control, but still 10 targets for Keenan Allen and a good target share on the season.
Yeah, 26% target share for Keenan Allen. It's positive. But that's about it. I'm actually going to close it out. He's my wide receiver 39 this week. Look, even with that 26% target share, in 5 of the 6 games he's played this year, he's been under 40 receiving yards. You know, there's all sorts of talk in the preseason about Fat Keenan and a lot of jokes and memes. And, regardless of where his weight is, it just hasn't produced in Chicago so far. It just hasn't connected there. He's averaging 4.7 yards per target this season. That's the 3rd lowest among players with 40 or more targets, among players with 40 or more targets. I mean, they've turned him into like this super dink and dunk guy. Yeah. You've got Moore and Odunze stretching the field a little bit. Over the past 4 weeks, it's not an easy matchup against the Patriots, by the way. New England allows the fewest receptions per game to the slot, which is where Allen's running the majority of his the majority of his routes as well. This feels like it's going to be a very low-scoring game. He's at best he's the 4th option on this offense after Moore, Odunze, and DeAndre Swift. And I think there's an argument you could make that maybe you feel better about Kmet than him.
Right.
Like it's kind of close there. So, don't love the game environment, don't love the production. Caleb Williams has been very up and down so far this year. The over/under is 39. And Chicago, by the way, is a 6-point favorite. So the expectation here is they're running in the second half. I'm closing it out on Keenan Allen.
Yeah, me too. You said up and down. It's weird because it's like down, up, and now they're down again. And you know what, Matthew? I think this got a little something to do with last 2 games are against Arizona, Washington, 2 good teams. In those 2 games, Caleb Williams is only completing 49% of his passes. Look at the 3 games before that, Jaguars, Panthers, and the Rams before they started playing decent. So it's starting to feel like it depends on who they play. And to your point, this Patriots defense, they are not any slouches. The over-under's 39 right here. You just don't love this for games. You don't love this type of game for receivers in fantasy, period.
That is graphic that we just showed is crazy for people that are just listening to the podcast. We basically showed Keenan Allen's best 5 fantasy games this year. He had 1 game over 20 fantasy points, and the rest are all under 8.
Yeah,
like those are right. Other than the 2 touchdown game, like his best fantasy games are like he got 7.9 one week. Like it's been. It just hasn't gone the way we all hoped for Keenan Allen in Chicago so far. I'm closing it out.
Another player we were hopeful for after a slow start, or at least keeping an eye on, was Mark Andrews. Lawrence. Mark Andrews had a 2-game stretch where he looked like the guy we thought we were drafting, but besides that, it's just been brutal this year. Week 9, 2 targets, 2 catches, 26 yards. Just no looks in this offense right now, which is a great offense, by the way.
Yeah, so I'm going to be like Matthew was on Michael Pittman. I'm going to reluctantly.
The reluctant open?
I'm going to reluctantly keep this open. This why. He ain't had more than 5 targets in the game, right? Well, it was against the Bengals in Week 5. He caught 4 or 5 targets for 55 yards. Yep. And now the over-under for this game is 53. That's basically why I'm taking the shot on this. Also, too, it's the 2nd week in a row that he's leading the tight ends in offensive snaps. He was not doing that the prior 4 weeks, which was really alarming. But the past 2 weeks, he's been on the field more than any of the other Ravens tight ends, and they ended up blowing out Denver. So you stop needing some versus Joe Burrow, that guy. He ain't missing them passes that Bo Nix missed. He ain't missing them 3 touchdowns. So I think it could end up being another one of those back and forth things. And if Mark Andrews is the tight end in the game, you just like, hey, he'll be there. You know, Lamar still trusts him. And that's pretty much where I'm going with it. I'm expecting another shootout type of game. So you just hoping. And that's why I'm reluctantly keeping it open.
Yeah, I'm closing it out. I mean, you're right. Basically, he is very much he's a touchdown-dependent tight end too, right? He's got 6 games in which he hasn't scored a touchdown this year. In those 6 games, he's averaging 4.4 fantasy points per game. Like, he needs a touchdown to pay off for you. Now, in a good game environment, maybe he does score a touchdown. We've seen, more progress there. But In 6 of 9 games so far this year, he's got below a 15% target share. Since week 3, he has 1 game with a route participation above 60%. So yes, he could get into the end zone on Thursday night, but so could Charlie Kolar or Isaiah Likely or new addition Deontay Johnson or Zay Flowers, or maybe Derrick Henry just runs it in 3 times, or Lamar Jackson, or Nelson Aguilar. They have so many weapons there, Lawrence, and so that's my, again,
You might have forgot somebody. I don't know if you did, but you just
Rashad Bateman. Sorry, Rashad Bateman.
Justice Hill?
And Justice Hill. Yeah. I mean, again, they just have so many guys, and so it's a good game environment. If he scores a touchdown, it pays off for you. But I'm closing it out because it's just, what are the odds? So it's just, how lucky do you feel on Mark Andrews? Yeah.
To recap, Matthew's Keep It Open, Close It Out rankings, and Lawrence, you'll rip through yours after these. C.J. Stroud at QB 15. That is a close for C.J. Stroud. Rico Dowdle stays open, RB 26. Travis Etienne, though, he's closed at RB 33. Brian Thomas Jr., wide receiver 22, he's open. Michael Pittman, the biggest reluctant open of all time at wide receiver 29 due to some bye weeks. Keenan Allen is a close at wide receiver 39. Mark Andrews is a close for Thursday Night Football as tight end 16. Lawrence, you had a couple of differences.
The 2 differences was I'm going to keep it closed on Michael Pittman and reluctantly open on Mark Andrews.
Let's take a look at the injuries we're tracking right now for Thursday Night Football largely. Lamar Jackson, of course, dealing with a knee. Lamar, though, most likely just kind of in a rest mode at this point. T. Higgins with the quad injury. That's a short week. It's going to be a long shot for T. Higgins. Isaiah Likely with a hamstring. So we'll keep an eye on all of these before tomorrow night's game. Cris in concussion protocol. Drake London left in the first half and did not return with that hip injury. A.J. Brown could be back this week coming off the knee injury. CeeDee Lamb's dealing with the shoulder. Keon Coleman hurt his wrist in that game. Nico Collins is eligible to return after missing 4 games while he was on IR. He's had a hamstring injury. D'Amico Ryans said they will continue to evaluate that situation. So a lot up in the air right now, guys.
Right, and not even on this list is Christian McCaffrey, who we're going to track and see if he continues to be on schedule to play this weekend as well. Feels like CeeDee Lamb has a good shot at playing. Lamar's going to play, but the rest of these guys are Drake London probably plays, I feel like, but a lot of big names. To your point about sort of wide receivers, again, you look at that: Olave, London, A.J. Brown, CeeDee Lamb, Keon Coleman, T. Higgins.
Higgins is big.
No,
that's
I know,
a big one.
But that's why I reluctantly keep it open with Michael Pittman. We're running out of guys.
Yeah, we really are.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBCSports.com and RotoWorld.com, and I want to thank you so much for watching whatever it is you just watched, or if nothing else, being too lazy to click out of the autoplay after this video started, after whatever it is you actually wanted to watch finished. But now that you're here, I'd like to take a moment here to ask you respectfully now, okay? I'm asking you respectfully to subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel. You'll get the latest Roto-World fantasy news headlines, all sorts of great shows, including my own Fantasy Football Happy Hour. So go subscribe now. Again, I'm asking respectfully.